Hi, everyone. Landry Etheridge here with Etheridge Counseling Group. Really excited to talk about the holidays with Channing Harris today. Expert relationship therapist here in Charleston, South Carolina. Thanks for joining us, Channing. I can't wait to hear more about holiday expectations, family dynamics. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay. So the holidays are coming up. I know it's still October, but really holidays are quickly approaching. And I know, at least for myself, the holidays can bring up a whole lot of different emotions, some fun and some maybe not so fun. So, I'm curious to hear how you sort of prepare your clients for the holidays or what you kind of have in your mind as the holidays are approaching in terms of like self-care, expectations, stress. What are some of those things that you have in your mind as the holidays are approaching?
Yeah, so generally, the holidays they're awesome, they're fun, they're joyful, but for most people they're also stressful and chaotic and hectic, and it means dealing with difficult family dynamics. Everyone has them, and so, typically for me that looks like, really taking some time to think about, the what's coming up, so that I know what to expect. So that when things happen, I'm not kind of caught so off guard. Sometimes we still get caught off guard, but it's nice to kind of have a game plan. And so I usually talk about like, what is this going to look like for you and what can we expect with some realistic expectations. And so we're,
Mm.
prepared and we know how to care for ourselves. And, a big one that is super, super important overall is just self-compassion. That the
Mm.
holidays are hard, and having compassion for yourself also therefore, trickles into being able to have compassion for other people.
I
Um,
love it. Well,
like,
something you've said a few times is expectations. Talk a little bit more about just expectations. How does that play into this? Why is that important to think about?
I think it's really important because, overall in our individual families, we have expectations of what we hope the holidays will look like. But even in a greater society, we see all these movies and shows and videos and reels of people having these wonderful family experiences in the holidays. And while a lot of that is true, families are also hard, and holidays are filled with family time. And so it's filled with hard things. And so it can be really difficult when we have such high expectations or high thoughts of what we should be experiencing in the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're able to have realistic expectations and see the good and the bad, both can be true, then we're really set up for success instead of set up for failure.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So setting expectations that are realistic and then sort of, I hear you saying like kind of have like a game plan for how to handle maybe some tough situations or some triggers that you are already predicting could take place for you. What are
Yeah.
some of those like practical strategies um, that we can use to sort of navigate the seasons with maybe more grace this year?
Yeah. And, I think I already mentioned one of the big ones being self compassion, but there's a few facets to self compassion.
Mm.
There's, making sure we're being kind to ourselves is a big part of it. And so part of that is, telling yourself that it's okay to have realistic expectations and that not everything's going to look like this picture perfect video or movie of the holidays. And that's okay. But then also, a huge part of it is realizing, I think another facet of that is that you're not isolated, you're not alone in that generally even other family members are feeling similarly. So being able to connect on that and communicate openly with other family members about what we're all expecting can be really beneficial. And then I think kind of an initial step to that is this idea of mindfulness, emotional awareness.
Mm.
It's really difficult to care for ourselves and respond to ourselves in a loving way when we're not aware of what's happening within us
Can
emotionally.
can you explain briefly, like, what do you mean by mindfulness? I think I hear people talking about mindfulness quite a bit, but a lot of us may not really know what that means.
Yeah.
When you say mindfulness or emotional awareness, are you using those? Is that sort of the same thing, or what do you mean by mindfulness?
I would say there's a slight difference. There's actually tons of different definitions of mindfulness, but I think in terms of self-compassion, the way that I look at that is when I'm experiencing something or when I'm going through my day, where am I feeling things in my body? Am I mindful of that? Am I aware, and that's where it can be close, the emotional awareness, but am I aware of what's happening within me individually? And
Mm,
so that, yes, can look like emotional awareness. I think that's a big part of mindfulness, is slowing down and being aware of emotionally how we're feeling, but also physically. And so, that's why you'll hear that like yoga is a great mindfulness practice, because it's the mind and the body that we're paying attention to. So it is kind of a double-sided thing. It's not just the emotional part, and even spiritually as well. Spirit, that's important as well. And so it's not just a one single faceted thing. And that's where I think the definition can get really complex. But I think for the purpose of thinking about taking care of yourself, are we
mm,
slowing down and paying attention?
mm-hmm,
Because
mm-hmm.
when we're slowing down and we're paying attention, whether that's emotionally, physically, or spiritually, we're allowing ourselves the opportunity to respond. If we're not, you're not responding to what's coming up for you. Or you are, but sometimes it can feel like you almost are getting controlled by your.
Right, like the reactive
Yeah.
versus proactive
Yeah.
type of response. Yeah, I'm thinking about my own family and how much more enjoyable this is, just happens to be how it's been in the last few years. It's been more enjoyable in the last few years because a lot of my siblings, we've matured. We know how to do some of these things now. We know how important it is to take a break, go on a walk by ourselves, have more open communication. And I think our holidays have benefited from, now that I'm thinking about it, from some of these starting to just be more mature and be able to take ownership for our own needs, and have that open communication that you're talking about. Um, well, I'm so glad that you've written this 4-part blog series on this topic, because I think it's something that a lot of us get kind of wrapped up in the schedule, the hectic schedule, and we suddenly the holidays are upon us and we haven't really prepared emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually for this. And then we kind of just get thrown into it, and, we're being triggered left and right. And this idea of mindfulness, being stepping into the holidays in a mindful way where we are connected to our bodies. And I think for a lot of people who have experienced any type of trauma, we can be really disconnected from our bodies. So I think these ideas, these tips that you've, um, listed in these blogs are going to be so helpful for people if you kind of take stock and start thinking about these things now ahead of time. Can really set you up for success, I think. So, um, yeah.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree. And, again, this idea of having that mindful approach, then I'm going to know when I need to take a break versus blowing up at a family member and then realizing, ooh, probably needed to take a break. We've all done it.
Guilty.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm guilty. We've all done it. Or, even blowing up at our kids when it's supposed to be a fun family outing and activity, realizing maybe I needed just a second, even just to go to the bathroom and like breathe for a
Mm-hmm.
moment and be able to communicate that, even if it's just to my partner or, whoever I'm going out with, that, okay, I just need a second.
Just
And then
need.
you can reset and actually enjoy the outing versus it kind of getting spoiled.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. And okay, so what do I need? Maybe I need to go to the bathroom. Maybe I just need a sip of water. Maybe I just need to take a breath and feel my feet on the ground or whatever it might be. Yeah, to kind of reset and be able to enjoy these moments, these precious
Yeah.
moments. Yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
awesome. Thank you so much for talking through this with us. And for all of you listening or watching, if you're interested in working with Channing, you can head over to landryetheridge.com and sign up for a free consultation and hopefully get scheduled. Hopefully step into the holidays in a much more joyful, enjoyable way this year.
Yeah.
Yay.